To be honest, I've never cared that much about the Superman movies. Something about the character or just the previous attempts at adapting this character just never really resonated with me. That's not to say I thought all the movies were bad or anything, it just didn't work for me personally. But when the trailer for Superman 2025 released, I found myself actually excited about a Superman movie for the first time ever. And once I found out they filmed this in Cleveland with the city being on display throughout the entire runtime, my interest went through the roof. And so, as someone who enjoys comic book movies but isn't tied to any allegiance, right? Like, I'm fully removed from the Snyder Wars and MCU versus DCU, all of that stuff. I don't care too much about it. I don't care who's playing Superman. I don't care who's directing the movie. I just want to go in and have a good time watching this thing. And so Superman 2025 delivered that experience for me. I had an absolute blast watching this thing. Even just walking into the theater, being from the Cleveland area, the presentation and the excitement around this movie was impossible to ignore. Like, you walk into the theaters and every single poster is Superman. Everyone's wearing Superman merch. They have these big balloons all over and multiple walkways and photo ops with different props from the movie. There was just so much buzz and excitement, and then you even have this little intro that plays before the movie with James Gunn, who, he gives a shout out to Cleveland and Cincinnati, which got a lot of boos from my crowd, but it was cool nonetheless. And so everything just set the stage for this movie to be an exciting, fun time. And obviously, my perspective on this film is going to be different because of that, right? If you're not from Cleveland, or if you're someone who really preferred the previous movies and are worried about the new direction that they're taking, then I'd understand. But again, as a Clevelander, as someone who has no alliance to any other version of this character, I have to say, I thought the new Superman was phenomenal. I did not expect to walk away from this movie being such a massive Superman fan, but I loved this portrayal of the character. He's just this pure-hearted, big, jovial goofball who also happens to be the strongest thing on the planet, and all he wants to do is help people. This movie goes so far out of its way to show Superman saving and caring for even the smallest forms of life on the planet. And that's what this character is all about, at least from my perspective, is Superman is this beacon of hope for humanity, and I thought David Corenswet captured that feeling on screen to perfection. He delivered his lines so earnestly and with so much conviction that I could tell how much he cared about saving these people. And I think that moral high ground can be hard to capture on screen without it being silly or corny or sometimes even hypocritical, right? Like, you don't want your superhero movie to fall into that trope where, the hero is drawing this false equivalency to killing someone who has killed dozens of people already, right? Like, both sides are equally bad, or if we killed him, then we're just as bad as him, right? You guys know what I'm saying here. And without getting too political or anything, this movie literally throws a middle finger at the both sides are bad crowd that, we've been hearing that a whole lot with a recent conflict going on. And like I said, it throws an absolute middle finger to that whole narrative. And so this movie, to me, perfectly found that balance between Superman being, a pure-hearted hero who wouldn't hurt an innocent fly, and a character who also, when it comes down to it, is still an incredibly powerful badass who he's going to save the day one way or another, right? And so if this is the version of Superman that we're getting moving forward, then sign me up, because I am all for this portrayal. It was not corny in the slightest, in my opinion. I thought he had so much charm and charisma on screen. I'm a big, big fan of this new Superman. I also thought Lex Luthor was a huge standout, right? I mean, Nicholas Hoult, he's been on an absolute heater the last few years, and I feel like his range just continues to show itself, right? This was Stephen Curry pulling up from 30 feet against OKC. This was the type of performance that we got from Hoult. I think he's always been an incredible actor, but he was so good as Lex Luthor. This is one of the best villains we've had in a comic book movie in quite a long time, in my opinion. It was everything that I wanted to see from a Lex Luthor character. He's petty, he's cynical, he's hateful, he's incredibly cocky and smug, but he's brilliant all at the same time and does feel like a genuine threat and danger. He's just so frustrating. Like, Nicholas Hoult is so good at making you hate him, but in different ways in each movie. His voice and his line delivery is right on the mark in this. I thought the plot in this movie as well did a really good job of setting Lex Luthor up with really as many wins as he could possibly get on Superman without it feeling gimmicky or forced. And so the dynamic between Lex and Superman I thought was great in this movie. Obviously, everyone is also talking about the chemistry between Superman and Lois Lane. I'd have to agree with the consensus there. I thought these two actors are amazing on screen together. The romance was very believable. Like, you don't have to tell me that these characters love each other, because I'm wondering if the actors in real life might love each other at this point. I thought the kiss in the Cleveland arcade was one of the best superhero kisses that we've gotten probably since Spider-Man and Mary Jane way back in the 2000s. And to finally talk about Cleveland a little bit in this video, it's pretty sick to see such a huge, iconic scene take place in a real life location that is only 20 minutes away from me, right? Like, the Cleveland skyline is all over this movie. There's so many buildings and parks and even beaches that I recognize in this film. So obviously being able to see these places that, I've actually been to on a big screen in a blockbuster movie, that's always going to be a cool experience. That makes me a little biased, right? But I think what's even more important is that so much of this movie, because it was filmed on an actual location, that makes a big difference for how it feels on screen, right? And what I mean is, if you watch any other comic book movie recently, right, you can tell or you can see all of this stuff is just being filmed in an empty blue room somewhere, and the characters are reacting to nothing in front of them, right? I don't really know how to explain it, because obviously Superman, this movie has a ton of special effects, and I'm sure there were plenty of scenes that were shot in those same exact rooms, but there's something about having a tangible, real life city that is being shown on screen throughout this movie that just provides this ground level of reality that it goes so far to keep you engaged with the film. Seeing real life locations that I recognize definitely helped me personally in that regard, but I would imagine even someone who isn't from Cleveland would probably feel that the special effects were a little more seamless in this movie because of how much they shot on location. And so I'd like to know if anyone else agrees with me here, because I really do think that helps a lot in terms of making these movies feel more realistic and seamless. Like, it felt like there was some depth to the action on screen, and the previous Superman movies, for sure, to me, just felt there was so much empty destruction. And the stakes, even though the stakes in the movie were supposed to be high, they never felt that high to me as someone watching it on screen, because it just felt like I was watching a CGI mess. And while I don't think the effects in those previous movies were necessarily bad or anything, they just felt shallow, is what I'm trying to say. And Superman 2025, the effects to me were amazing. And I don't think the story is like a perfect, incredible example of tension building or anything, but I was definitely locked in to the final hour of this movie in a way that I was just not for any of the previous Superman films. Again, it's that constant build up and back and forth of Lex Luthor that I thought was really effective. And then the invasion that we see setting up and taking place, that drove it all home, right? The message and the through line of this story basically being that, to summarize, the real punk rock is standing up for each other and caring about humanity, right? That's just exactly the type of shit that I want to hear lately, right? Like, this is what Superman is all about, right? And being able to portray that message in a way that feels more punk rock than corny, that's everything that I wanted to see, right? And so, going down a few more rapid fire things before I wrap up this review, the score I thought was incredible. Almost goes without saying. It's one of my favorite superhero scores of the last decade. This is what sold me on the movie when I saw the trailer, honestly. It's just hearing that theme. It's so damn inspiring, even just on its own. But then when you pair it with the imagery and everything that's going on in this movie, phenomenal. 10 out of 10. As for James Gunn, the gun, it really don't jam. It does not jam. Like, the camera is doing some wild things throughout this movie, and it's breathtaking to watch if you're seeing this film in IMAX or Dolby Atmos, which I couldn't recommend enough. This is an exhilarating experience. You honestly feel like you're just on a GoPro strapped to Superman as he's flying throughout the action. It was some truly inspired and creative camera work, and I just have to tip my hat to James Gunn for it. The story, again, is just full of so much heart, as I mentioned. This felt like it was crafted with love, and a lot of the superhero movies recently that we've gotten have felt almost like they're on an assembly line, like it's this corporate manufactured slop that's just trying to push out a profit. But this one to me felt more like a piece of art that was handcrafted with love, in my opinion. Speaking of love, the scene with Superman and his parents, his adopted parents, 10 out of 10. Another 10 out of 10 moment. I won't say anything in depth because you should just go see it for yourself, but every scene with Ma and Pa was perfection. The one scene specifically with Pa, and then even the final scene in the movie, it's a 10 for me. It was so emotional and heartfelt. Like, this is what I talk about when I say that the movie was completely crafted with love and understood the character in a way that really got me excited for Superman, because I've never cared that much about the character, but in those scenes I truly did. And then Crypto, the super dog. Look, I'm a huge dog person, so every single scene with Crypto was phenomenal to me. I love this dog so much. I really love that they didn't make him this super obedient dog that just perfectly followed every command. That's what I was expecting, but rather having Crypto be this chaotic and just reckless puppy, that was something that I loved. It was a great decision. And the last thing that I'll say, and I'm sure I'm forgetting plenty of stuff about this movie, but I want to keep my reviews relatively short. The last thing that I want to mention is that this movie, to me, nailed the timeline for this character. Like, we don't get any of the repetitive backstory. We just jump straight into the action with an already established universe, and we'll pick it up along the way, right? Even the romance, like, we enter this movie and Lois Lane and Superman have already been seeing each other for 3 months, right? Like, we don't tread over any of the same backstory. We just get straight into this thing, and I thought that was a great decision. And on top of that, this movie also shows restraint with its timeline and not going overboard, foreshadowing what's next for the character. They really keep their eye on the ball here by not, throwing in too many Easter eggs or name drops for future movies. There's really not that much setup for what's to come next. You'll get some hints here or there, but overall, this movie is just laser focused on being a Superman movie. It's not trying to tie anything too deeply into the Justice League or any Batman crossovers. And listen, I would love to see successful Justice League, Batman, all that stuff tied into here eventually, but I think this movie set itself up perfectly to have another standalone Superman movie. Like, really, take your time. Focus on this character. Let's get another standalone Superman movie before we open this up to a full-blown cinematic universe. We don't need the team-up movie yet. I think we can get one more contained Superman film, and I think that sequel would work perfectly for what they gave us in this first film and where they set us up to go from there. So anyways, seeing Cleveland on the big screen, it was a very cool experience. James Gunn and the entire crew really did this city justice, in my opinion, and the way that it's represented on screen and all the comments that they've made on the media tour right now. Listen, if you don't know, Cleveland, genuinely one of the most beautiful cities for like 90 days out of the year. The rest of the year, it can be a little hit or miss, but you get like 90 days of perfection. There are some breathtaking days in Cleveland, spanning from anywhere between the spring and the fall. The winter, it sucks. I'm not going to pretend that it's great here or anything, but the city truly has improved a lot over the last 2 decades, and I'm just thankful that Superman and the people who made this film managed to showcase at least some of that. And so yeah, listen, I love this movie. I'm officially a Superman fan. I'm locked in. I also, before I forget, Mr. Fantastic and the other heroes that we see in this movie, they were phenomenal as well. I almost forgot to mention them. I don't want to gloss over them because they were just as good as everything else in this movie. Mr. Fantastic especially stole the show for like a solid chunk of this runtime. He was great, and I can't wait to see more of him. The Daily Planet crew as well. That's something that I'm excited to see more of. I think there's so much on the table here that we can still get to, and so I can't wait for the sequel. I hope that it's another standalone Superman movie, and that's really all I have to say. So thank you for watching my review. If you enjoyed, then please drop a like and hit that subscribe button. Leave me a comment letting me know what you think about Cleveland or the Superman movie. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And so thanks again for watching, and I'll have more videos coming soon.